Hello, Tech406 back here again, and this is the first video in a series about virtualization on Linux. So this first video here in our series is about the very infamous Xen server. Xen has been around for quite a long time, and if you ever use the VPS online, you've probably used Xen through VPS, at least, well, not directly. So this video here will go through Xen on how to install it on Debian 10 Buster as our DOM0, and how to add VMs to it, and finally how to add those domains that you created through Xen to libvirt, for you can manage it through either libvirt or Vert Manager. So what we're going to go through first is what you're going to learn in the video. How to install and configure the Xen Hypervisor in an existing Linux installation to use as your DOM0. And next we're going to learn how to create multiple Xen VMs using the Zen Tools role provisioning, which makes it, because this video is not going to go through how to actually install packages and things like Docker, for example. Instead, we're going to use a role to basically install those things for us. You're going to see that in the next part of the video. And then after that, we're going to learn how to manage these Xen VMs using the XL command. And then finally, how to configure and use Vert Manager to make managing them easier. Okay, so installing the Xen Hypervisor. Ensure your distro has support for the Xen Hypervisor's DOM0. It is recommended that your CPU supports the virtualization extensions, of course. Okay, so here we're at the Debian desktop now, and we're going to do the install of Xen system, which is what you need to install. And we just hit enter here, and it'll show you all the packages that we're going to install, and just approve that, and it shouldn't take too long to download everything if you have a good connection. Like, we could install Zen Tools at the exact same time, but with Zen Tools, I just want to go through the non-recommended stuff as well, because you can install it with the no install recommends, so you can actually lower the overall installation footprint if you don't need everything. So we're going to just, but Xen system does really need everything to make it work correctly without any fuss. So we're going to install that entirely here. There's a few other packages we're going to install afterwards, but we're just going to go with these for now. So it shouldn't take too much longer. And with that, we can either do a reboot right now, which would basically give us the hypervisor right away, but we don't have to do it just yet. So we're going to actually going to install the Zen Tools here over here as well. Oh, guess I need to type in install, don't I? Yeah, so the recommended packages, which are nice to have, is it gives you LVM2 as well as rinse, as well as a few other archives there too. If you don't feel like you need these things, which we're not going to, well, we're going to use LVM later. We're going to use LVM here, but we don't need anything else here. So we're just going to install just this without the recommends. But if you do install with recommends, just note that you will have arch test and expect LVM, rinse, as well as Ubuntu keyring, but we're not going to use those in these examples, so we're just going to go with no install recommends, which is, as you'll notice, a much smaller download and install size overall. It shouldn't take long. It should be really, really fast. Okay, and with that, we actually have the basic Zen stuff installed, but what I would recommend, for this, you recommend setting up a bridge, but also note if you set up a bridge on a workstation especially, you'll need to disable and or remove Network Manager, Con Manager, and things like that, because I have noticed they do interfere with these settings. So we're going to go into our network interfaces file here. And in this file here, what we need to do is you can just comment this out. Instead of inet DHCP for this, go inet manual. And then down here, just go iface zen br0 inet DHCP. And then go bridge ports ENS3 in our situation, ENS3. And there we go. And then now when we reboot, we should also have a Zen bridge ready to go. And with that, everything should be generally all right. We do want to modify some other configuration files after reboot. We'll do that after the reboot. So right now we'll just take care of that there. So, and let us reboot our system. So just do a regular restart. And now you'll notice in the grub menu we have the first option. We also have the Debian with Xen Hypervisor. So just hit enter on the Xen Hypervisor option, and it'll load the hypervisor here, and you'll see it load Linux kernel right afterwards. And now we're in Xen. And just, of course, log in. Giving it a second because it takes a while for it to fully load up here. There has been issues with LXQT. I've been finding. I don't use this desktop environment very often, but it's very good for this job. So there's been some issues with it. So I do apologize for the delay here. There we go. That's what I was waiting for. Once that pops up, I know everything's good to go, and I can click here. Now we have Xen installed. We're going to go back into root again. If I can enter my password correctly. Okay, and now if we go ifconfig. Oh, I didn't set it to. I don't think I set it to auto, did I? Well, something you should do then interfaces file is put auto Zen br0 there. There we go. There we go. We're done. Okay, and with that, Zen is now ready to basically ready to go, but not quite yet. So we have a few configuration files we can modify. So one of the files you can look at if you need to look at it is the XL config file. This file just has some basic things depending on how you're configuring your thing, but these we don't have to worry about too much. These are just things that we don't need to change in our example here. So, but you can change them if you need to. Another configuration file we are going to change is we go to Zen Tools, and in here we have the Zen Tools config. Now this file is actually quite long, as you can see. So yeah, as you can see, there's quite a lot of stuff in here to change. So the things you have to keep note is down here we have the directory here. If you want to use images like just flat file image files for your hard disk images, which I wouldn't recommend for production servers. For testing it, that should be fine. Here we're going to set up we are going to set up the LVM, but we're going to set that up in a few minutes. And then zpool, if you have ZFS, you can use zpool as well. Installation method. We have dbootstrap, of course. That's the default one for Debian Xen. Keep going down. We have a few other options down here. If you have also copying, if you want to ever do copying, then we have all the disk sizes, all the disk informations all shown here, including the disk and including other stuff. We'll go through this in a bit. Keep going down. DHCP. This is what you'll want to set this. Actually, maybe I'll set these up now. Actually, while I'm here, so might as well. Okay, so we're gonna set up the LVM. We're gonna go VMs, go down. We'll keep the size of the root disk of 4 gigs. That's totally acceptable for what we're doing. Memory, 256 is the default, but for our examples, I'll have to always constantly increase it, so we're going to go 512 instead. We don't want swap in this example code. We don't need to set that up. So we got those set. And we keep going down. We do want DHCP. I don't care about the name servers. Don't care about the bridges very much. GenPass. In our examples, I think it would be best if we set this up, and we want pygrub, and then here we're going to set up a mirror. You don't have to do this. This is only for my specific purposes, just to make this for I don't hit the Debian servers all the time. Just set your mirror up there if you have to. If not, you can it'll just guess the current mirror from your main Debian system. These options generally don't have to change. These can all stay the same. If you want the machine to boot up on boot, it's not on boot, but as soon as you finish the creating with Zen Tools, you can automatically start it up there. We're not going to do that though. Everything else here, I do believe, can stay the same. So yeah, and that's our Zen Tools file. Okay, next now we're going to install LVM2. And hit enter. It shouldn't take too long to do it all. Okay, and then we're also going to go to, I have a salt server here. And I'll show you guys the roles in a bit. So we're going to go blue08 state.apply zen.server and hit enter. I'll show you the output of this in a moment. Okay, so that's good there. Then we're going to go pv create VDB1 should have been there. What the heck is going on? VDB? It still says already contains in that. It will be removed. What the? It's not. It should have primary. Oh, maybe I didn't write it. I think that's the problem. I didn't write it, did I? Yeah, I didn't write it. Of course I didn't write it. Anyway, so now we can go pv create VDB1, hit enter. Offset that, wipe it. Yes, of course. Now we have that. Now we go VG create VMs with dev vbdt. I think VMs created. Good. And then we can go VG display. And there we go. Okay, now here, so I have a few roles I'll show you guys in a second. There's Spice, there's a salt role, nspawn, LXC, and then I did make changes to the file here. I'll quickly cat that. If you can see, it's the exact same thing we did basically, except the RAM I think is different, so I'll update that. LVMs, but yeah, I create a salt thing to make this easier, and then here's the interfaces file here. Automatically puts it in there as well. So salt's a great program just to get things going. And now what we're going to do is we're going to cat the etc Zen Tools config again. Actually, not the modified actually, because I need to change it to 512. So 512, and you'll see here LVM, everything is exactly the same as it was. Right? PGP. I wouldn't recommend doing accounts one. I ran the issue. Well, I guess if you're not using a CM tool, then I guess it should be fine. But I was using a CM tool, and this was causing me some problems. So don't use accounts if you're using a CM tool. That creates accounts for you, or else you might run into problems. But anyways, yeah. So that's that, and now we're going to look at how to use the Zen tools to create virtual machines for Zen. So Zen Tools makes the creation of new VMs very trivial, easy to create new roles or customize existing ones. I want to go through some of the roles and show you how they look, and it's pretty straightforward how to create a role ticket. Basically a shell script that has a few macros built in, very, very simple. And then also when you use Zen Tools, be sure to edit the Zen Tools config file as you have seen. then I'll show you the roles. So if you go to Zen, so here's an example. We're gonna do a Docker. Actually, I don't have that in the roles, right? But yeah, I have various roles here we're going to go through. There's a few roles that it comes with, and a few roles that I created myself. So, for example, if you want to install, say, LXC, this is how you can install LX. This is a role to install LXC, basically, that I created here. But we are going to make we are actually going to make a Docker container, sorry, a Docker VM as our main one. So we're going to go Zen create image -- host name demo Docker, we'll call it, and then dist. Oh, I don't need that because I don't need a role. There's no role for this. It's just going to be, yeah. Well, actually, no, I do want a role because I do want salt to work in here, actually. So we're actually going to do a role for salt because that. Oh, actually, no, because actually, this video isn't to show how to install Docker, right? So we're just going to install salt, and I am going to just install Docker over salt. That we won't have to worry about the deal with that. So, okay, and then what it does, as you can see, creates the extended file on the disk, and I will probably fast forward this and see you back after this is done. So, or rather, skip it in editing. Okay, so now it just finished doing salt. And now, since I said PSSWD equals 1, if you don't set that, it'll just generate a random password. But in our case, we can just enter in a new root password, set that up, and then we're done. And boom, look at that. Demo Docker is ready to go. Before I run this, I do want to increase the RAM. So Zen Tools is meant for just the basics. I think you can also use set an option on Zen on the create option, but I don't usually do that too much. But we're going to go into here and just increase this because Docker likes memory. So we're going to go 1024. Give it a decent amount of memory. And using the XL command. XL is the main entry point for Zen. This is where you're going to have a lot of things you can do with, like, say, XL shutdown, XL pause, a bunch of other tools like attaching block storage devices while the machines are running, and doing other bunch of management things that you can do with the XL command. For the most part, if you're just running it on a workstation, you don't really have to use those. You can just shut down the VM itself and modify the config file and then start her back up again. But the XL command is very useful in server environments, so if you're going to use this in a server environment, I highly recommend that you look at the XL command and play around with that to your leisure and try to understand it as much as possible. The create command creates a new running domain from an existing config file. Some people might think that the create command is what you'll use to create new VMs, but it does create the new VM in a sense, but you have to have the config file. So you're creating a config file that basically points to all the assets. This config file is going to point to the hard disk, is going to tell what network to use, the MAC address, and everything like that. And without that config file, the create command is just not going to work. So that's where Zen Tools, the previous steps, came into play. Zen Tools actually creates those config files for you, which then you can use with the XL create command to essentially creates the running domain. And if you use the -c with create, it'll give you as you'll notice in the next step, you'll notice here that what -c will do is it also connects you directly to the console right away, so that you can see PyGrub and you can see the kernel loading, and then you can finally log in to the TTY. And then finally, the XL list command lists all the running domains, and there's also a few others you can use as well too, such as XL destroy, I believe exists, as well as XL top, which might be useful for some people that want to be able to view the entire everything that's running in a top-like view. And now we're ready to start the machine. So to start the actual machine, go XL is the command we want, and go create. And since we want a console, -c for console, and then we just point it to our config file. If you don't do -c, it'll start it in the background. So we're going to start it up now, and as you'll see PyGrub right away. So here's PyGrub. Oh, I guess I should increase the size of the display just a wee bit. There we go. Okay, and then now we're going to install Docker. So do this. Good. Accept. Demo Docker. Yes. And go salt demo docker state.apply. Actually, I want a few things. Actually, let's just go state.apply first, because this will first create my SSH keys and everything else. And yeah, let's do that first, actually. That way I can log in. Perfect. Okay, good. That was fast. It gets SSH set up for us, as well as OpenSSH, and sets up my user account and things like that. So now, if I open up a new tab here, I can go SSH demo docker. Yes. Ta-da! Look at that. That's an RVM. So now, next thing I want to do is I want to go apply. We're going to install Docker. This will take a few minutes. Okay, now, so Docker's been installed. Okay, next we're going to run, so apply, run it against users again. This will create my user. Good. Log in. Docker PS. Ta-da! And just to have some fun here, we're going to install one container per container. Just to show you guys that it actually is fully running inside Zen. Okay, it's running. Now we got to go into Internet, Firefox. Oops. Help enter in the correct port. So you're going to build. Oh yeah. There we go. Port enter. Save, local, connect. And here we go. We're now running in Zen. one container running, yeah. And we're in container. So there you go. That's Docker that is Docker running in Portainer. Sorry, Docker running in Zen server. Okay, now the next example server I wanted to start off with, I wanted to do as well. So we're just going to shut this one down. So we're going to go root, and do a halt here, turn that off. Not that I have to, there is enough RAM, but actually maybe I will start it back up just to have it running still. So that way it's, oh, I almost forgot. Zen is very strange when it comes to networking. If you don't, yeah, whatever, it's fine. So we're going to start without the C option now. Now they're up and running. Start with this, just do a create. And now you'll notice now I'll show you. I'll give you a quick demonstration of the command. So XL list will give you a list. There's also XL console, which will just give us a console to say demo Docker. See? And if you press Control and then the square bracket, it'll actually exit you back out to your host machine. So, okay, and now we're going to go Zen create image, host name. We're going to call this thin, and we're going to go with a role. There's also a dist option too if you want to install an alternative dist, but it bases the dist off your host OS, which makes it easy. But we're going to go with a role here. We're going to use the role xspice to show you how you can make a thin client desktop. So this is xspice. And I do believe I have a remote viewer installed here. Yeah, I do. Perfect. So remote viewer, we're going to go after it boots up, spice, thin, 5900. Actually, just for make it easier, -F as well. Okay, and with that, I'm going to stop recording for a bit and see you back here after this process is finished. Okay, and here we are. It now has been all installed. We're entering the root password now. And there we go. And now we do need to run this one with the console, because this one I will have to create a user because no user is created, and it's gonna be we're gonna be logging into an X session. So we're gonna go create Zen and thin. This time pygrub should look correct on the screen. Yep, there it is, pygrub. And here we go. And then there's also a setting we have to change as well too, because in the role itself, this is what the role looks like, by the way. This is what the role is. So we just do an apt-get update. We Debian install Debian package. We're installing Xserver, Xspice, font files, Xterm, XDM, and then IceWM experimental. And then we're copying the Spice configuration file over to its proper location. Now the problem is that Spice configuration file is partially broken, so we actually have to modify it. Well, not broken, but it has an issue. So right here, where it has option ticketing, we have to not require the client password. Option disable ticketing, true, because we don't have a password set. So we either have to set a password or turn this to true. So that's kind of what we have to do. And for some reason, editing files here it's a pain. As you can see, it's awkward. So we're going to go stop XDM, and we're going to restart XDM, and then we're going to go add user, give our user a lovely password. Okay, and we can exit that, Control D. And get back to our host. Now click here, run it, poof. Or, yeah, well, there it goes. Well, I didn't want to take a second there. I was like kind of worried, but it worked. It worked, and here we go. Welcome to our thin client. And in case you're wondering, yes, we can go full. Right now, we are not there. We're not full screen. We can set it to 720. Boom, look at that. Now we're basically in our thin machine. And now we're at the final step we're going to work on, which is using Vert Manager with Zen. So Vert Manager makes life easier with Zen makes it a bit easier if you're more used to using visual tools like VMware Workstation or VirtualBox to manage your VMs. So Vert Manager is also used to manage other virtual machine technologies as well. So it's a pretty versatile tool, libvirt and all that. So, but I highly recommend checking out Vert Manager with Zen if you want to. It's just completely optional, but it's there. Do not attempt to create machines from scratch using Vert Manager. Yeah, I tried it a couple times to create machines using Vert Manager, and it never really had much luck with that. There's some issues. Just create your machines using the Zen Tools toolkit. And you'll also need to import your Zen domains into libvirt to manage them as well. They don't just magically appear there after you create them through Zen. How to use Vert Manager. So right now, this is a very powerful tool here. It's called Vert Manager. To install it, you just have to go install app basically on your distro, apt install Vert Manager, hit enter, it'll install it. And that's what this is. But we don't have, right now, I don't have the Zen in here. I don't have the Vert Manager daemon installed locally. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to install that. And the recommended packages are generally QM. Oh, actually, we do need the recommends in this one. Yeah, we should install the recommends, because recommends has DNS masquerade and all that, which is required for, actually, no, it's not. It's not needed for Zen. No, we're good. We're good. DNS masquerade is not needed for Zen. Because when we use libvirt with Zen, it doesn't actually use anything really from libvirt, which is weird. It doesn't use libvirt's networking at all. So, and once libvirt is installed, you have to add your user to it, or else you're not going to be able to connect to the daemon. So add your user, and now we're going to do a log out, because that's how it works to make the user effective. We have to log out and log back in. So System Tools, Vert Manager. You'll notice when you open it up, it is empty. I'll hit that. First, we're going to add our Zen connection. Just go Zen, don't connect SSH, click connect, boom, Zen. Now, while you can attempt to create VMs through here, I've not had luck with this. I recommend creating Zen VMs from the command line and creating the config file there, and then adding it afterwards. So here's how to add. Here's how to add your existing machines to it. So what we're going to do is we go root here, need a root shell. And then we're going to use the vir sh command to do a dom xml from native zenxl, and then point it to our machines. Demo docker out to demo docker.xml. Okay, next, all we have to do now is go over sh, define demo docker, poof. Okay, play. There we go. And there's Docker daemon starting. Now, if we go here, we can go lx list, and you'll see Docker daemons running. So it'll actually show up in this list now correctly as well. So, and the same thing can happen to all the other ones. So you open this one, for example, and hit play. Thin should also come up no problem either. And then you can manage all your Zen hosts using Virtual Machine Manager, which can also work remotely as well too, which is really nice. So you don't have to actually, I'm not going to load up LXC host. That seems to be, oh, why not? Let's open it up. Because I never had problems with it before, so I don't know why I was having problems now earlier. So is it maybe it's the memory, 512. I don't know. Well, it's not running any virtual machines, so I don't know why. Anyways, whatever. But yeah, so there it is. Yeah, that's basically Zen in a nutshell on how you install it and how you can get it all working on your machine and that, and well, what it can basically offer you. And yeah, I hope this video was informative. And yeah, like, subscribe, and everything else if you want to see more. And with that, we're at the very end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. There'll be more in the video series. I'll be going through other virtualization / containerization technologies such as Docker, nspawn, LXC, libvirt, QEMU, just you name it. I'll probably go through it eventually. So subscribe if you want to see more of that stuff. Anyways, have yourself a great day.